Wah.
Okay, looks like we are already on the live stream, yeah. Okay, thank you, Nimas.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Erna, for the nice introduction. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Distinguished Coordinator of the Southern Region of Sumatra TEFLIN, Ibu Huzaimah, the lecturers at Sriwijaya University, the committee members, and presenters of the third SRS-TEFLIN student webinar, and all the participants. I'm honored to welcome all of you in this webinar. The Southern Region of Sumatra TEFLIN webinar series reflects our effort to keep up with the demand for continuous learning in the era where physical distancing rules our social and professional interaction. Back in April, Ibu Huzaimah and I were discussing about what we as teachers professional organization could do to support teachers in dealing with the abrupt changes in our professional work. We came up with the idea of doing webinar that turned out to be a conducive space for exchanging ideas and discussion of various issues in education, particularly in English language education. These webinars were successful in part because of the support from the students. So while established scholars have contributed their ideas in the previous webinars, this time we also provide the space for the students to take an active role in presenting their ideas and leading our discussion. Today's webinar continues our effort to engage in professional development at the time of remote learning. Our presenters will address the issue of e-learning and its challenges, as well as provide recommendation for effective implementation. This is a very timely topic to discuss in this era of remote learning. I hope you are all as excited as I am to participate in the discussion in our webinar. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Ibu Sari, for a very warm welcome to all the participants today. So the next welcoming remark is from Bapak Soni Mirizon EDD. As the Language Education Study of Teacher Training of and Education Sriwijaya University. To Bapak Soni Mirizon EDD, please. Bapak Soni.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me,
Okay.
Erna?
Iya, Bapak.
Yeah. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Distinguished Coordinator of South TEFLIN, Professor Huzaimah Dahlandim, Distinguished Committee of the third SRS Graduate Student Webinars, okay, and also distinguished presenters and attendees of this third webinar today. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, for the third time that you are here in the third graduate student webinar, yeah, which will discuss e-learning, barriers, implementation, and recommendation. Yeah. As the head of the Magister program in language education, I would like to say again a few words to warmly welcome everyone in this third webinar and to show my greatest appreciation. First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to the coordinator of South Sumatra region, TEFLIN, Ibu Professor Huzaimah Dahlandim, for her continuous dedication toward English education in South Sumatra region through her ideas and leadership in South region of Sumatra TEFLIN activities. Next, to the presenters today, Preti Mahasari, S.Pd, Harli Zadtyi, S.Pd, Muhammad Wahyudi, S.Pd, and Shohibul Kahfi, S.Pd. I'm thrilled that you are enthusiastic in sharing your knowledge related to the issues about e-learning that you are going to present today. I personally hope that your experience in studying at the graduate school and in doing your preliminary research would give the participant today a new insight and tips around current issues in English language teaching, especially in e-learning issues. Also, to the committee of the third SRS graduate student, SRS-TEFLIN graduate student webinar. Again, I am really grateful for your commitment and hard work in making this webinar for the third time today. Last but not least, to all the participants, the attendees, I expect you all good luck and please enjoy the webinar today. Even today is in the afternoon, not like 2 days ago, but I hope that the time will not decrease any enthusiasm in joining the webinar. I think that's all. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, thank you so much for Bapak Soni Mirizon for your warm greeting for us. So now it is time for me to let Nurul Fauzia S.Pd to take over the webinar as the moderator of presentation session. To Nurul Fauzia S.Pd, the Zoom floor is yours.
All right. Thank you very much for Ernawati S.Pd as the host. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nurul Fauzia, the moderator for the third webinar today. First of all, please allow me to welcome the presenters who will share their ideas, knowledge, and experiences with us today. I would also like to welcome all of the participants of the third English Education Graduate Students of Kipling webinar series in collaboration with SRS-TEFLIN 2020 with the theme E-Learning, Barriers, Implementation, and Recommendation. I'm so glad that you are here with us today. Thank you. Well, before I introduce our presenters today, I would like to inform you some rules for this webinar. First, in order to receive the e-certificate, you need to fill out the attendance form that we provided in the chat box. Second, at the end of the webinar, we will also provide the exit tickets in the form of feedback for all of you to fill out. The third, the e-certificate will be sent to your email a week after this webinar, along with the presenter's PowerPoints. The last one, if you have any questions to the presenters, please type it on Q&A box and mention to whom the question is addressed to. You may type your question anytime during the presentation session. Then we'll discuss it at Q&A session after all the presentations has been done. And for those who are watching for YouTube, you can also type your questions on the live chat box. Thank you. Well, we have 4 presenters for today. There are Preti Mahasari S.Pd, Shohibul Kahfi Alam Putra S.Pd, Harli Zadtyi S.Pd, and M. Wahyudi S.Pd. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to begin our first presentation session. And I'm honored to welcome and introduce the first presenter, Preti Mahasari S.Pd, with the title of the presentation is sorry, can you hear me? Yeah, with the title of the presentation is Implementation of iPad in Teaching English for Young Learners, or TEYL. So for Preti Mahasari S.Pd, the Zoom floor is yours.
Okay, Thank you for the moderator.
Sorry, your voice is not clear, Preti. I think, can you make it louder, please?
Is it clear? Is it clear enough? Sorry. Okay.
For me, it's not.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, thank you for the chance. Now I'm gonna share or discuss about my paper entitled Implementation of iPad in Teaching English for Young Learners. What do
Preti,
teachers
sorry.
Yeah.
It is so. The
Yeah,
voice is really not clear.
Yeah, we cannot hear your voice.
Very small from here.
Okay, how about this?
Yeah, we can hear you
Better now.
Okay. Okay, let me
But
continue.
still, Kak.
Okay, let me continue.
Okay, sure.
Okay, this is the outline. The first section, I would like to discuss about the introduction part, why using ICT, and then why using iPad in teaching English for young learners, and also the gap or the rationale why I chose this topic. And then the second one is theoretical framework as a guidance for the teachers. And then the third one is how iPad is being used in the classroom. And the fourth one is teachers' perception toward the effectiveness and the barriers for implementing iPad. And the last one is teachers' preparation, including conclusion and recommendation. Okay, let's go to the first section. Why using ICT for teaching and learning? Okay, the development of technology has become an essential part in this 21st century era, with new opportunities and challenges, especially in educational aspect. So it means that it's not something new that many schools use ICT for teaching and learning. So why using ICT? Because ICT can give many benefits both for teachers and also for students. According to OECD 2008, ICT can provide new opportunities for students to learn outside of school and can change teachers' pedagogical approaches and the learning experience of students in school. According to Coyote and Oronke 2014, preparing teachers using ICT can help them to facilitate children's cognitive, physical, and social emotional development. It means that the teachers can use ICT to motivate children, sustain their interest in learning activities. As we know that children are very easy to feel bored when they are learning. So that's why teachers should use interesting way in teaching. Okay, in addition, Cambridgebook 2019 stated that in the era of Industrial Revolution 4.0, the role of learning technology based on ICT will continue to increase. So it means that why using ICT? Because it's demanding of today's era. It's demanding of 21st century era. So that's why ICT can be used started from the childhood education or started from young learners. Okay, next. Why using iPad in TEYL? As we know that there are so many kinds of teaching media nowadays, but why should iPad in teaching English for young learners? The first reason, it's according Co et al. 2013, iPad is one of ICT that is capturing, entertaining, and can be educational for young children. It means that iPad has been designed special for education needs, and also the application which have a child intuitive design. So it lets the students engage with the content in interactive ways or in a fun way. Okay, later I will discuss about it. I will show you the application, the example, and also in addition, there are already some research found that iPad has many advantages for teaching and learning. Okay, I also want to share some iPad application that can be used for teaching and learning in young learners. Okay, the first one is Keynote. By using this application, teachers can make interesting materials. So they can make materials by using this application with fun animation. And then the second one is Quiver. By using this application, the students can make the pictures that they already color becoming a 3D pictures. And the third one is iMovie. By using this application, the students can using their creativities to edit the pictures and also the video. And the last one is pages. By using this application, the students can write letter and then can write the numbers, can draw the pictures and so on. So it means that the teachers can teach literacy to the student by using digital media. Okay, next. Here are some advantages of iPad based on empirical research by Campbell 2016. The first one is it's easy to share the materials through AirDrop. It means that iPad lack of attachment and connectivity, so we don't need cable anymore. And then the second one is it's easy to use for children because the size of iPad, the height, the width of the iPad look like appropriate size of a portrait children's book. So it makes easy to handle, to hold, and also to operate by children. And the last one is make teaching and learning activities more interesting. Absolutely yes, because teachers can use pictures and also can use movie, sound, and so on. So by explaining the advantages of iPad, it is expected that can give clear explanation why iPad chosen to teach young learners. Okay, next. Here I found the gap. This is the rationale why I chose this topic. As more research is released with regard to the student outcomes and iPad use in education, there is a paucity of research in regard to teacher successes and perception of iPads in their classroom. So it means that previous research just focus on students' outcomes, but it's still rare the research that focus on student perception toward the effectiveness and also the barriers of iPad implementation in the classroom. I think it's very important to have such a research in the future. Therefore, there is a need for further research into how teachers can manage technologies within the classroom to be sure it is used appropriately. Okay, this is the theoretical framework as a guidance for the teachers. As we know that teachers has an important role. Teachers is a key success of teaching and learning, or key success of iPad integration in the classroom. So that's why they need such a framework. Here I choose TPEC. What is TPEC? TPEC is Technological Pedagogical Content Knowledge Model. It's a framework that combines the technological, pedagogical, and content knowledge. So by this framework, the teachers can know and understand successful technology integration. And this framework created by Kohler and Misra 2009. So the teachers are able to effectively utilize technology in class by combining knowledge of educational technologies with pedagogical knowledge. It's also supported by OECD 2010. Integrating technology into teaching should always be done in the service of pedagogy. So it means that teachers is not only should have the ability in technology skill, but also they should have the skill in choosing the appropriate methodologies or strategies, and also to have to master the subject. Okay, next, how the iPad is being used in the classroom. So according to Carcenti and Viewis 2013, the iPad allow performing a variety of tasks in the classroom. So it means that teachers can give opportunity to the students to do variation of activities in one time and also in one classroom. Additionally, according to Best-Corner and Hutchinson 2013, iPad can be used in multiple ways as an instructional tool to support the teaching of emergent literacy in early childhood education. Okay, so teachers also can teach literacy by using digital media. Okay, let's see the video.
Mobil. Nah, coba lihat. Ada truck di sana. Truck. Truck. T. T. R. U. C. K. Truck. Next page. Page yang ini.
Okay, that's one of example of iPad class in teaching English for young learners. See that the students can do a variation of activities in one class in one time. So in the video, the students can learn about the shape, and also they can learn the letter of the word truck, and also learn about transportation. The students also can arrange the kinds of shape to make a truck like a playing puzzle. So that's all for the video as one of example how is the iPad being used in the classroom. Okay, next is teachers' perception of the effectiveness iPad implementation in teaching English for young learners. So based on the empirical research, according to Ferguson and Oigara 2017, the teachers reported that the iPads use had a positive impact on student learning. The teachers' perspectives were based on improvements they noted in their students' quality of work and their time on task. And also, as one of the example, research also showed that English language learners benefit greatly by using the iPad to look up words quickly and hear them pronounced correctly. It means that iPad is more than digital media learning for children, but also can serve as interactive, engaging device to enhance students' learning experiences. So now, what did teachers say based on teachers' perception? The first one is iPad would allow them to create a wide range of media, such as video tutorials and lessons that would be easy for students to navigate. It means that the variation of different applications available in iPad, and these features make the iPad stand out amongst other mobile devices. And then the second advantage is iPads as compared to notebook computers are relatively easy for young learners to use. Because of the simplified design, the connectivity, and the large multi-touch screen, so it makes easy for children to use it. And then the third one is iPads would provide them with an additional tool for designing differentiated activities quickly for various groups of students. So by using iPad, teachers can create the variation of activities in one time, as already I saw in the video before. Okay, next. Now, in spite of the effectiveness of iPad implementation, there are also the barriers iPad implementation in teaching English for young learners. It is the research done by Campbell 2016. The results showed that the lack of experience and collegial support, as well as insufficient iPad-specific training as barriers to iPad integration. And the others is from Thomas et al. 2012. One notable barrier to technology integration is lack of planning and setting clear goals. So because of sometimes teachers tended to continue to focus on standardized preparation and use the same instructional methods. So it means that the research revealed that the teachers did not receive adequate support to integrate iPads for teaching and learning activities. However, without a proper learning environment, management, and facilitation, the device potential may not be realized. Therefore, what should teachers do? What's the solution? What the teachers should prepare for successful implementation of iPads? OECD 2016 declared that teachers need the training to learn how to use technology to improve teaching methodologies. And then another survey, the result of survey from OECD 2014, in all systems participating in the TEYL survey, teachers cited improving their ICT skills as one of the most important priorities for their professional development. Indeed, the success of using iPad for educational purposes relies heavily on teachers' ability to select, create, and manage adequate digital resources in order to implement innovative teaching strategies. So teachers should also develop their skills in using technology and also to develop their skill to choose appropriate methodology and strategy, and also the teachers should master the subject that they will teach to the students. Okay, this is the conclusion and also the recommendation. So based on my explanation before, I can conclude that iPad has many advantages, and the use of iPad in teaching English for young learners is effective. In spite of the benefits, there is also the barriers implementing iPad for teachers, like lack of experience, lack of skills, and also lack of collegial support and others. So the teachers should upgrade their skill toward the use of iPad in their classroom. And also they can see the TPEC frameworks as a guidance, so they can assimilate the technology skill and also the pedagogical content knowledge and others. And for the recommendation, because nowadays iPads are becoming more popular in educational institutions every year, so it is hoped that there will be a further research which observes the implementation of iPad in teaching children, especially for Indonesian context. So because it's still hard to find the sources that the researchers do observation in the school in Indonesia. Okay, I think that's all my presentation. Thank you for the attention. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I give it back to the moderator.
All right. Thank you very much for Preti Mahasari. It was very interesting presentation. And what I can conclude from your presentation is that iPad is very good, and it is proved that the use of iPad in teaching English for young learner is very effective. Like what you said before, that it makes the transfer material easily, and that it also helps the teacher to create various activities. And iPad also add additional tool for children to create like drawing. It is very good information. Thank you. I do agree with you that teachers and students need to learn more about technology, since we know that the use of iPad means that it is the use of iOS and it's not Android, so it's a little bit more complicated. Thank you very much for Preti Mahasari. All right, everybody, before we continue to the next presenter, I would like to remind all of the attendees that don't forget to fill out the attendance form provided in the chat box and the exit ticket in the form of feedback that will be given at the end of the webinar. And therefore, please stay with us until the last session. I will also want to remind everybody that if you have any question to the presenters, please kindly type it at Q&A box, not in the chat box, in order to make the committee easily to choose the questions. Thank you so much. All right, then it's time for us to continue to the second presenter. Please welcome Shohibul Kahfi Alam Putra S.Pd, with the title of the presentation is ELearners, Barriers Toward E-Learning, Technophobia. For Shohibul Kahfi Alam Putra S.Pd, the Zoom floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
First of all, thanks to Allah, because for His mercy we can meet here in this webinar. And I also would like to thanks to moderator for having me as the presenter for this webinar, regarding e-learning, barriers, implementation, and recommendations. Good afternoon for everyone who is watching this webinar. I hope everything runs well. Today, I would like to, wait a minute, I would like to share my screen before. Okay. Okay, in this good chance, I would like to present or deliver upon my presentation entitled EFL Learners Barrier to E-Learning, or it's called Technophobia. Well, I think it is a debatable topic, but in my opinion, maybe we neglect it as a fact, but it is real in our daily lives. For example, before we begin our my presentation, I would like you to have a guess about the topic. Yeah, perhaps you will see a man in the picture, in the background. I mean, he is sitting on the chair in front of his laptop. He is so confused because he is anxious on the homework given by his lecturer. Nobody can save him, but he himself can save it. And he couldn't cope with it. Yeah, this is a real situation that happens in our life, and it is called technophobia. First of all, I would like to explain you about the definition of e-learning itself, because it relates to our topic today. Okay, according to Rossi 2009, it described e-learning as a concept conveying a variety of application, methods of learning and process. Meanwhile, Aparicio et al. 2016 explained that e-learning unites two main areas, that is, learning and technology. Learning is a cognitive process for knowledge acquisition, and technology is an enabler of the learning process, meaning that technology is used like any other tool in educational practice, such as pencil or netbook. Meanwhile, Wendling et al. 2000, he stated that e-learning term refers to the attainment and use of knowledge that are primarily facilitated and transmitted through electronic means. If we combine those three explanations, so we can sum up to the definition that e-learning refers to a method of learning with the help of information, communication, and technologies used to achieve educational goals. If we see in the slide, there are two kinds of people who are really busy with their daily lives. They are learning their best, whether they are learning electronically or they are learning traditionally. If we talk about electronic, it doesn't mean something that it relates to smartphones, laptop, and other gadgets, but calculator and CD, or it stands for compact disc, are also considered as electronic. Okay, so not only a person who is learning their best for seeking knowledge, but also in a classroom, society, or an environment, they are also using the same method, whether it is traditional and electronic. But first of all, I would like to tell you the difference about the traditional learning and electronic learning. If we see in a classroom with traditional way, we can see in this picture, they are still using books, chalkboard or whiteboard, glue as the visual aid for students in order they can understand about the geography subject, for example. and then about the microscope for the biology subject. And then we can also find many posters on the wall. But it is different than we come to electronic learning, and everything is settled in order to develop our nation. As now NESI 2010 affirmed that technology has become a powerful tool for education and economic development. And we can see in our daily lives in the classroom or and during epidemic era of coronavirus, we are keen on, or we are getting used to using computer, or in other terms like laptop, smartphones, tablets, and we also use other electronic terms that we use, such as, sorry, sorry, I have a problem with the battery, please. Okay, sorry guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I would like to continue. Okay, besides other technological tools that we use, such as computer and other gadgets such as tablets and smartphones, we are using electronic tools that we that can sustain our education, such as microphone and also headphones that I am using right now, and then the sound system, printer, and also, of course, without internet connection, we cannot make a webinar today. Okay, now we are in the global era. Just pretend that this girl is you. You are so self-motivated. You are so confident because your teacher is presenting the materials online like you desire. You feel so competent and you feel so enjoyed because it's also making such a big contribution to your life. And I think if you are feeling like this girl, I think you are on the right track. It means that you are technophilia. It means you are a person who likes or desire to use technology to learn something. But if we come to this person, for example, just let me make an example. It is your friend. Your friend is so confused because her lecturer asked her to make a presentation using a PowerPoint, but because he got used to PowerPoint using Windows operation system, he got frustrated because it is the first time he is standing in front of her dad's office using his computer that it used Apple operation system. So it triggered anxious because it is the first time for her from the beginning, from turning on the computer, how to run out the gadget and so on. So it triggered the anxious and it will make what we call as technophobe. So technophobe is a person who is afraid of, dislikes, or avoids new technology, according to Merriam-Webster 2002. Okay, so in this presentation, I would like to limit about 3 questions that I would like to present. There are 3 questions The first is the question of what is technophobia. The second is why. I would like to present about why EFL learners are so afraid of technology. And then the last one is how. Exactly, it is how to overcome technophobia according to experts. To answer the questions of what is phobia, I would like to deliver here. There are three definitions. According to J, 1981, he defined technophobia as a resistance to talk about computers or even think about computers. Meanwhile, Tawan and Sarma 2015 stated technophobia is uncomfortable in using technology and trying to avoid its use. Meanwhile, Rosen and Meyer also explained the same with the previous second. They explained that the technophobia is characterized by the emergence of negative attitudes to technology. This is just for information, because according to Felicia, technology is a growing problem with the continuously increasing technology. And I would say that I really stand with this point, because in this global era, in a nanotechnology, or even much better in the future, we are still having technophobia, and it is a growing like snowballing. And then according to Korunda and Finn, it is the more interesting, because they affirm that technophobia has been an enduring problem in industrial economies for over 20 years, with some estimates putting the number of technophobes at close to 1/3 of the industrialized population of the world. By means, I could say but maybe you are also considered as 1/3 of the industrial population that they say as a technophobes. And then the third, regarding to e-learning, it is still according to Korunda and Finn. He also still said, they also said that technology plays a big role. Technophobia still plays a big role in e-learning study. In most e-learning courses, the main learning device is the computer, with which every student has to work with. And if they have fear or anxiety towards computer or any new technology, it makes their e-learning careers fairly difficult. Okay, I have already answered the questions of what, and then we come to the question of why. To answer the question of why, actually, according to Governor 2016, there are at least 2 reasons why EFL learners are afraid of technology. For the 2 first, for example, like they dislike and they think it may give a negative impact on them, I will explain you at glance, but I would like to explain more deeply for it's too challenging, because to be honest, I would like to make a disclaimer first, because they dislike it. It relates to psychology, and then the second one, it relates to technology, and I am not the expert on it, but I'll try to preserve. I would like to present this data according to Governor. Okay, so the reason number 1 is they dislike it. It means that students are reluctant to use the platform as they trigger to their past memory. Okay, so in his research, he defined and he speculate, because there are still many students who are still in the trouble with their past. Many students, they are reluctant to use this platform, for example, like WhatsApp, because one student even said that I dislike it when he tried to explore more about the reasons. One of that student said that because it contribute about my past memory, because I have a bad memory in the past using this technology, using WhatsApp in the past, because I had a ex-boyfriend, for example, in the past, and he sent me a nude picture and so on, and it triggered her not to use this application anymore. And it also happens with Gmail. Another student also explained that why he disliked this this platform, because there are so many people blackmail him using this email platform. So whenever their lecturers ask him to send a presentation file, for example, for submitting the task, he couldn't cook it because he feels that he is anxious, and then he is reluctant to use the platform. And then the second, another answer for the question of why is they think it may give negative impact to them. Still, in the research of a governor 2016, one of the students explained the governor. He explained that the camera or the surveillance in the world are giving a negative impact to our lives, because he also saw a film from Edward Snowden, who was a former agent of FBI, who exposed the abuse of webcam use. Even if it is still offline, the webcam can record it. So it triggered him as that student. It may give a negative impact to him. So he is reluctant to use this technology for a learning purpose. And then the third one, it is more that I would like to discuss, that it is too challenging. In this challenging sections, I would like to explain by preserving 3 experts. The first one is Oluwala, 2015, School, 1999, and Goodwin, 1993. According to Oluwala, 2015, the students are feeling challenging to e-learning and become technophobes because of 3 things. The first one is the high price of the hardware. If we can see in front of our computer, we have the keyboard, we have the mouse, RAM, ROM, and so on. There are kinds of hardware. And then regarding software, they are reluctant to use the technology because their students, their teacher asked them to use a software such Microsoft Office, that that it is fairly high in terms of price. And in his research, he also claimed that the students are also reluctant because it is challenging and it triggers them to become technophobia because of the slow internet connection. And then meanwhile, to Skull in 1999, there are 3 problems that it triggers the students to become technophobia. The first one is the usability. usability is considered that we cannot neglect it as a fact, that we also cannot neglect it, that we still cannot use or don't know how to run a computer is in terms of its usability. Perhaps we can type, but we cannot use a PowerPoint clearly and so on, make a presentation based on our keyboard. And then why? The second is the pressures. There are two kinds of pressures that students are facing recently. It is also related to Skull. In his research, the students had pressures in terms of times and goals that are asked by their teachers. Their teachers want the task should be completed in the minimal time without knowing the competence of their students. And then the third one is the failure. They become technophobes because they are afraid of doing a failure. And then according to Goodwin in 1993, there are two kinds of challenges why they become technophobes. The first one is they cannot step outside from their comfort zone. They only want to be in the same level of their technology competence. They don't want to step outside, surpassing their friends in terms of using the computer, for example. That's why it is a barriers for them. And then they also dislike to make a risk in doing in many subjects, and it triggers them to be a technophobes and having such technophobia in their educational life. And then to answer the questions of how, because I only focus with the number 3, because number 1, it is considered with the psychological terms, because one of the research suggests the students see the psychiatry to solve the problems because it relates to mental health. And then the second, it is according to technology, and I couldn't cope with it. And then the third one, this is the answer for the how of 2 challenges, the barriers. According to Oluwala, 2015, because the high price of hardware, software, and in the internet, so teachers made an affiliation to the private company and other third party. And I think we are as an EFL learners and also teachers can do so to sustain our education if it is not sustainable enough to support our technology. But if it is okay, so we can come to the school in 1999. It relates to many students become they fail to use a computer in terms of usability. So many students were able to develop strategies towards their anxiety by avoiding computer jargon and asking friends for help. You know, computer jargon, for example, like hard disk, ROM, or it stands for random access memory, are considered to computer jargons. And some of us may do not understand about that definitions. So the writer, like Skull, he suggests us to avoid the computer's jargon and start asking friends for help. And then we also need to increase computer competence and computer experience. And meanwhile, we also need to keep attitudes and thinking positively. By means, if we make a trial and errors towards what we are doing right now, for example, in doing a presentation, we are asked by our lecturers to do a task. We need to make much experience more and more by learning and learning. So it will trigger our confidence in using gadgets and other computers. And then in conclusion, I would like to read it aloud. So this presentation shows up if technophobia is a problem for students in learning. The students lack the basic computer and technology skills, and they are reluctant to learn the use of any kind of new technology equipment or learning methods. Their emotions toward the computers and e-learning systems are negative, and problems of usage make them even worse. The negative cycle causes the students to lose their interest in learning and looking for help. The key for these students will be good and fast technical support and towards helping them to get the positive thinking mood and therefore to positive cycle that fits the learning willingness and ability to handle the obstacles better. Technophobia can be caused from several issues, and these reasons should be found out to make the students get to the rising wave of e-learning studies. Otherwise, they may be in the great risk of dropping out from the development of the learning nowadays, whether it is in their education or at their work life. Meanwhile, lifelong learning in today's society demands the usage of computer and technology. Therefore, ICT can be seen as a catalyst to e-learning advancement, and the importance cannot be overemphasized. And my recommendations towards this topic, the first one is the government should assist by reducing the high cost of hardware in the representative country, especially Indonesia, and including the internet tariffs, teachings and learning of computer that has been inculcated. Okay, and then the second, we should know. I also in line if our educational system we make the computer education as a compulsory course. And then the third one is we have to make the public and private organization to fulfill our needs so we can have the opportunities of passing through traditional methods of learning. The fourth, we need to always think positive towards technology and practice it more to gain experience and confidence. And the last, the fifth, always ask your friend in need, as it will not lessen your knowledge. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you. Back to moderator.
I'm sorry, Nurul. Nurul?
Yeah, sorry. I forgot to unmute my microphone. Thank you very much for Shohibul, Kahfi. It was a nice presentation. All right. Now, before I go to the next presenter, I would like to remind a little bit. Please type the questions on Q&A box. Thank you. Now, let's go to the third presenter. We have Harli Zadtyi S.Pd, with the title of the presentation is Barriers in Using Information and Communication Technology, or ICT. What should EFL teachers do? For Harli Zadtyi S.Pd, the Zoom floor is yours.
Harli, your voice, please. Okay.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Before I start to present, I would like to say thank you for moderator to give me a chance. For the first, I would like to share my PowerPoint. Okay, moderator, can you see my PowerPoint?
Sure, I can see. Please,
Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks.
yeah, slideshow, the PowerPoint.
Yeah. Okay, here I'm going to present my topic about barriers in using information and communication technology or ICT. What should EFL teachers do? Okay, next, this is the outlines. The first one is introductions, and then definition of ICT, and also benefits of ICT, and we will talk about the fact of ICT, and why should the teacher integrate ICT in the class, and also the barriers and issues barriers in ICT, and the last is conclusions, and also the recommendations. Okay, we start from the introductions. The word of education has never got separated from any different kinds of issues. Like what Nolly said that some examples of the issue include government spending, and also the policies, technology and educations, and also the curriculum, school reforms, and many other issues. But today, we are focused on the topic about the language and teaching context. It's the use of information and communication technology, or we know ICT, we call that ICT. As we know that the integration of ICT in EFL is inevitable because the fact ICT has been widely applied in many areas, and it has essential position in our society and give impact to the quality of education. Okay, next, we talk about the definition of ICT. According to Roy, 2015, he said that ICT is all all devices and tools in digital forms which can distribute and realizing the goals of the teaching and learning. The tools here, it is the contents, the research, and also the forms, digital, and also the research, which that can increase the research of the access of the resources. And next, from the Gilajani 2017, ICT as a media to promote the learning models. It means that in here, ICT is a key role in facilitating activities for the teachers and also the students. And it has significant impact on the application of appropriate learning method to present a meaningful learning experience. Okay, next about the curriculum 2013, the integrations of ICT as the learnings concept in English, language teaching and the learning, which the aims of ICT here, it is to promote student learning autonomy and the communicative development. So from the curriculum, the student here should use ICT to make them more creative and also communicative and innovative. Okay, now let's talk about benefits of ICT. It is from the Roy 2015. There are six benefits of ICT. The first one is ICT can increase access to education. It will be improve the quality of educations by developing new ways, interaction and make it more interesting. And the second one is it provides equal opportunities. Opportunities here, the learners will obtain the same chance of information in education. And next, ICT, it enables the distance education system to be more effective. Even this is a pandemic situations, ICT here can help we are to working and also learning from our home. because we have an application that support for Zooms, WhatsApp, and also YouTube. And next, ICT can provide support to each school in sharing educational or learning experience. So this is related to the school support. When the school have providing the trainings, tools, time for the teacher, the school will become the school model to who integrate the ICT. And also the next, ICT can help in promoting technology literacy, of course. And the last is it enhances the teacher quality, but in terms of teaching and also the research. Okay, now we talk about the facts of ICT. Okay, fact of ICT, according to Kandasamy Inshah 2013, based on the research over the past 20 years, so some evidence of the positive effect of ICT in the student learning. So in here, ICT gave many impact to the students and also the teacher if we use ICT in the learning classroom. And according to ECSEC 2012, technology is a storehouse of knowledge and information for both the teachers and the learners. So in here, technology can help the teachers and also the learners if they want to get any kinds of research and link it with their academic needs. And the last, from the Rank et al. 2011 state that as most English teachers should acknowledge, there is still much more to do to make effective and enjoyable the use of the technology. So from the rank statement, it's necessary to utilize technology in the teaching English, considering English is not the first language in Indonesian, but we as a teacher can find the effective ways of using ICT. Okay, now, why should the teacher integrate ICT in the class? We can see that from the curriculum 2013 and also the UNESCO 1998, ICT should be integrated into English to generate quality of education. It could be said that ICT is an essential component that should integrate into English. ICT is an important point for teaching English. And also from Farid 2010 and Solanki and Phil 2012 define ICT is a crucial part of lifelong interest. And also there are always renewable developments in education. So I think ICT here bring the new technology to develop and then disseminate. And we can't ignore the impact of the ICT when we using ICT in the classroom, because we know the impact or the good positive impact when we using ICT in the learning process. Okay, now we move to the barriers. It is some experts said that from the scope 2005, integrating ICT is not as easy as a flipping switch. Yes, I think that's really sure. And from the 2017, most of the teachers have obstacles in their integrating technology into their learning process. Yes, when we use ICT in the classroom, we will find some obstacle in using ICT. And the last from the element state that teacher may have numerous barriers that they encounter in developing ICT. So from the statement above, I agree if the use of ICT is not as easy as flipping a switch. It could say that the use of ICT always encounter barriers, but in the introductions, the use and also the improvement of the quality of skill for the teachers. Again, now there are the classifications of barriers in ICT. The first one, according to Edmer, 1999, there are divided into two barriers. The first one, extrinsic factor, and also the second one is intrinsic factor. For the extrinsic factor, it is from the school, like the support, the access, the time, the research. And for the intrinsic factor, it is from the teacher itself, from their attitude, their beliefs, their practice, and resistance towards ICT. Okay, now from Vecta 2004 group that the barriers into school level barriers and also teachers level barriers. From the school level barriers, it is like the facilities, the accessibilities, and also for the teachers level barriers, it is like the teacher confidence and also the teacher competence and the teacher beliefs. And the last, from the Felgrim 2001, another perspective presents the obstacle as a pertaining to kinds of condition like material and also non-material. So from the classification that I have explained you before, I think we can conclude that the key barriers that always found in the using ICT, the first one is lack of competence. Why the teacher here lack of competence? I think because their lack of skill and also they have low ability and also don't have much knowledge of using ICT, that support by less of training they got. And the second one is a lack of confidence. I think it's related to the teacher lack of competence because they are low of ability in using ICT, so they not confident if they use ICT in the classroom. And lack of competence, it is influence the teacher lack of confidence. And next, resistance and negative attitudes. I think in here, the teacher have a negative mindset. The teacher just reject if they use ICT and found difficulties in using ICT. So they just think, oh, there are many barriers when we using ICT, so I don't want to using ICT in the classroom, something like that. And next, lack of time. Lack of time in here, the teacher don't have enough time to make a plan of teaching, to combine between the materials and also the ICT. Because in here, the teachers more to dividing time for daily activities. And next, lack of training. Lack of training, it could be happened because lack of the support from the school and also from the school or from the institution. So the teacher here do not receive training to improve their skill in using ICT. Okay, and next, lack of accessibility. Lack of accessibility, it is because of sufficient computer and also I think internet access. And the last, lack of technical support. Lack of technical support, it is like a lack of technical staff who are able to help and solve the problems, such as the problem from the software, hardware, and also the service. Okay, now let's talk about the issues, barriers in ICT. According to SPD 2016, over the past 2 decades, findings have proved that the application of ICT enables students to use English in authentic, communicative, and stress-free atmosphere. So, based on the SPD, the student here have many, in fact, make them more communicative when using ICT. And nevertheless, it's still rare for school in Indonesia for using ICT, particularly in English language teaching. So not many, I think not many school using ICT in the classroom because there are many barriers when we using ICT in teaching and learning. Okay, now we can see ICT Development Index. There are the positions of the development ICT in ASEAN. We can see from the top, it is Singapore, and then Brunei, Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, and also Indonesia. We can see that which Indonesia is in the position 111. So because not all the school using ICT. Okay, and next, the last is the conclusions. From the explanation before, we can conclude that the teacher should develop their classroom management skill to control and involve to the students in the lesson. So the teacher should develop the classroom with using the ICT to make the student more innovative and make student more creative. And to face the barriers, the teacher needs some training, motivations, and also should be given the teacher to avoid their hesitancy in adapting ICT into their lesson. So in here, the teacher should throw their negative mindset, I think. The teacher need to do a training of using ICT. It will make them more confidence and more competence. And last, they should learn and acquire innovative ways of integrating ICT to enhance the teaching and the learning process. Of course, they should learn because when I think every day using ICT, they will know how to use ICT in the classroom and make the learning process be better, be creative, and make students more enjoy in the learning process. Okay, these are the recommendations. They are for the school and also for the teachers. For the school, the recommendations are the first, providing pedagogical training approach and professional development. And the school also should support the tools such as the hardware, software, and also technical network. And the last, for school, provide sufficient time for teachers. So the teacher can make a plan for can make a plan what they will teach. They will, and if they have time, they will combine make the material in ICT and apply it in the learning classroom. And next, for the teachers should follow the training and assess available support, and being open-minded toward the new way of teaching. And the last is assess ICT resources at home and school to improve the ability of using ICT. It will make the teacher and school be better in using ICT in the learning process. Okay, I think enough. That's all my presentation. I give it back to the moderator. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for Harli, Zadtyi, S.Pd. What an awesome presentation that you have showed us. Well, I do agree with you that it's very important for a teacher to join training, especially for those who are computer illiterate. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we continue to the next presenter, I would like to remind all of the attendees that don't forget to fill out the attendance form provided in the chat box, and there will be the exit ticket at the end of the session. So please stay with us till the end of the session. And for those who want to ask questions, please type it at Q&A box. Thank you. Now, it's time for us to continue to the last presenter. Please welcome M. Wahyudi, S.Pd, with the title of the presentation is EFL Students' Motivation Toward E-Learning, a Literature Review. For M. Wahyudi, S.Pd, the Zoom floor is yours. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for the moderator who has already given me a chance in order to explain the next presentation of my title. But before that, I would like to make sure about the slide first. Okay. Just wait for a minute, please.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Okay, so what about this? Can you see this one clearly, everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much again. Being so grateful for being here in order to explain my paper in this webinar under the title English as a Foreign Language Students' Motivation Toward E-Learning, especially concerning on a literature study. My name is Wahyudi, S.Pd, and I'm a student of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education in Sriwijaya University in Language Education concern. So, different with the previous speaker, so in this chance, I would like to explain more that is concerning on the students' motivation toward e-learning. So, it is better to find out about what I'm going to explain in this webinar. So the outline is going to be like this. So the first one is the introduction, followed by e-learning, as well as the motivation, EFL students' motivation toward e-learning, and the last one is conclusion and recommendation concerning on the EFL student motivation toward e-learning itself. Okay, so now let's take a look to the introduction first. Okay. All right. We are living in the 21st century. Okay, so in order to be successful, we, especially young people, are needed to master some skills that is defined as 21st century skill, as stated by Ananiado and Claro, 2009. Okay, so what are skills needs to be mastered by young people in order to be successful worker and also citizen in this century society? According to the Partnership for the 21st Century Learning, or P21, in 2017, skills comprises into life and career skills, learning and innovation skill, and also, that life and career skill, learning and innovation skill, including 4C, okay, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and also creativity. And one of that may not be avoided by us to be mastered in order to the skills in 21st century one is ICT, or information, communication, and also technology, or ICT. In this 21st century, we can see that the rapid advance of technology and our daily life. Therefore, we cannot separate our life with the integration of technology, with no exception in the field of education itself. Therefore, the integration technology need to be admitted in order to support teaching and learning, especially English as a foreign language. And then technology integration in teaching and learning itself, actually it complements the traditional method where previously we are, as a teacher, need to come to the school in the classroom in order to deliver the materials. However, the students also do the same thing like us. But because of the integration of technology, we don't need to do the same thing, the traditional method, but it has already been replaced. And the integration technology, or e-learning itself, has become the main mode of remote learning during this pandemic situation. Okay, so now I'm going to concern on what is e-learning itself. I'm going to take 4 definitions from some expert related to the definitions of e-learning itself. So the first one is coming from Freud in 2001. He explains that the use of internet and other essential technologies to produce learning materials, educate students, and also control organizational forces is the definitions of e-learning itself. Moreover, Mays and the Freitas in 2004 defined that e-learning or technology-enhanced learning described as the use of technology to support and enhance learning practice. Following that, Kuhang and Herman in 2005 stated that e-learning is the delivery of education where the activities such as instructing, teaching, and learning are conducting via various electronic media. And then the last one coming from Aldo in 2015, which explained that e-learning can be defined as the use of ICT in a varied way to improve learning and teaching process through new strategies and also other technological tools. So I can sum up that e-learning can be defined as another alternative way to conduct teaching and learning process in which involving any kinds of technology to support. Now, let me explain to you the e-learning system theoretical framework. So this theoretical framework coming from Aparicio et al. In 2016, and they comprise the 3 major components in learning information system. The first one is people. So actually people interact with e-learning system, and e-learning technology, the second one, allow to make the direct and indirect interaction between the different group of users. And then technology itself provide help to integrate content, enable communication, and then provide collaboration tools. Okay, and then e-learning service combine all the activities that are corresponding to pedagogical models and to instructional strategies. Actually, from all of these systems, the one that is more complex in the combination is direct and indirect action with e-learning system stuff. Okay, now let's take a look about the motivation itself. What is motivation? Because when we talk about integration technology in teaching and learning activities, motivation is to be one of the vital one. So motivation has always been viewed as the basis of intention used by individual to partake in a particular action. According to Tauhidi and Jabari in 2011, motivation forms people's behavior in a constrained way, aiming to produce beneficial output. Okay, inside motivation itself, actually, there are 2 sources of motivation. It has already been explained before. The first one is intrinsic, and then the second one is extrinsic. Legal 2016 summarized the 2 terms by referring the satisfying and enjoyable behavior which comes out naturally as intrinsic motivation. However, addressing the behavior triggered by separate action called as extrinsic motivation. Okay, why is motivation important? Motivation is to be important because it is a kind of tools that intentions of learning. So when we can see from the fact that if students do not have any motivation, how come they want to study and follow our rule in the classroom? Therefore, motivation is to be one of the vital or essential thing in teaching and learning. Now, let's take a look to how is English as a foreign language students motivation toward e-learning. So there are some empirical research that I have already read concerning on how e-learning tools, especially in order to support or enhance student motivation in order to master English in the classroom. So the first one, okay, actually there are, the first one is coming from the social media that is quite popular among us, that is Facebook. Actually, it is also an e-learning tool, where this study was conducted by Kusnita in 2017. And from this study, Kusnita revealed that from the study, Kusnita revealed that Facebook, when it was applied in the classroom, it could motivate students to write pre-count text. Okay, and then the second one is the Instagram. And I'm sure that everybody here has your Instagram, right? And it is also able to be one of the e-learning tools in order to support our teaching and learning English especially. So according to Pujiati et al. In 2019, so in their study, it can be revealed that IG or Instagram could successfully motivate students to learn English, and it also improved their English competency. As well as the third one is coming to the platform that is Twitter, okay, where this study was conducted by Taskiran et al. In 2019. So in a study, it can be concluded that Twitter was also able to motivate the EFL student, and Twitter also was considered to be quite beneficial regarding motivation, engagement, and also the communication. What about the other tools that are able to motivate students in order to master English as a foreign language? Furthermore, there is YouTube. And I'm sure that even it is your kids, your brother and sister are really enjoying their time by watching these kind of tools. So actually, this kind of tool of e-learning is also able to support the students' motivation in order to master English as a foreign language, like a study conducted by Al-Khatiri in 2019. Okay, in the study, YouTube is used as a part of instruction in the EFL classroom. So, and the conclusion can be gotten from this study. YouTube was able to motivate students to learn and to practice their speaking skill aloud with the confidence. It also enables them to achieve their language attainment goals. In line with the previous e-learning tools, Google Classroom that was considered by Fikri in his study in 2020. Google Classroom increased student motivation also because the students were feeling easy to submit their assignment, and also they feel like it's really easy for them to get any kinds of material given by the teacher. Okay, so and then the next e-learning tool that is able to support the students' motivation is Kahoot. Okay, so Kahoot. I think some of you have already familiar with this kind of gamification e-learning tools. It is able to be used in order to measure your assessment in the classroom, such as giving the students exercise or examination in the form of multiple choices. So Kahoot needs the teacher to provide a kind of projector or a big screen in order to provide the question that is going to be tested to students. And then students, in order to be involved in this kind of activity, they need to prepare their own media like handphone in order to answer the question that was shown by the teacher in the big screen. Kahoot also was revealed from Mada and Anharudin in 2019. During their study, Kahoot was also considered to be successfully increase students' learning motivation. In line with one more gamification tool that is quizzes. Okay, quizzes. Actually, quizzes is quite similar with Kahoot one. So in quizzes, the different one is the teacher doesn't need any kind of big screen. but students and all the people who are involved in this kind of tool need to have their own tools in order to get involved in the classroom activities. It is quite challenging also, like a study conducted by Basuken and Hidayat in 2019 that revealed if quizzes had done well to improve the motivation from the students. Okay. Actually, there was one of the e-learning tools, and that is podcast. Okay, so in Indonesia itself, podcast is to be one of the quite trending use in during the pandemic era, and it also could support teaching and learning English especially. Okay, so actually there was one study conducted by Rostami et al. In 2017. The result revealed that podcast application was able to motivate the student in the classroom, and it could also change the students in a positive way. Okay, if before I have already concerned on some kinds of benefits or advantages taken from any kinds of tool in e-learnings that were able to support EFL students' motivation. However, according to Hara and King, Paulus and Scrap and Color, as cited in Hartnett 2016, there are other ways that cause the motivation to fail its duty. Those are such as unable to comprehend the use of technology, and then students, maybe the students might feel isolated because they commonly come to school and get interacted with the teacher as well as the students. However, during this e-learning process, they only have to stay in their own room. So therefore, students might feel isolated. And the last one, some students who are travel with time concern. I mean that some students also feel kind of travel with time concern because of having multiple responsibilities. Okay. So I'm coming to the conclusions of the presentation I have. So to sum up, even though motivation is commonly appeared to harness positive outcomes like what I have already explained before, actually enhancing students' motivation for online learning is quite difficult due to the lack of technology mastery, feeling isolated, and experiencing time constraint with multiple responsibilities. So in my recommendation given to those who wants to encourage students' motivation is we are, as the teacher or instructor, need to use some kinds of various interactive features of learning, such tools like what I have already explained to you before, in order to support their remote learning. For example, WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, podcasting, or the other gamification tools like Kahoot or quizzes, and the other tools that you think that you are able to use to support your teaching and learning English as a foreign language. I think that's all the explanations of mine during this webinar. Thank you very much for your great attention, and I'm going to give it back to the moderator, Nurul Fauzia. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for Wahyudi S.Pd. What an interesting presentation. Well, I agree with you that the use of various interactive tools is very needed to make it more interesting. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we continue to the Q&A session, since this is the last presentation for today, I would like to remind all of you, don't forget to fill out the attendance form that we have provided in the chat box, and don't forget to stay with us till the end of the session, because there will be the exit ticket that will be provided for you to get the e-certificate. Well, now it's time for us to have our Q&A session related to all the 4 topics that have presented by all the 4 presenters today. Okay, so these are the questions. Thank you for the comment. The first question is addressed to Preti Mahasari S.Pd. The question is, what do you, okay, your presentation is interesting. I found problems in classroom where not all teachers and students can implement iPad. What do you think this, especially for primary grade 1? Then what should the students and teachers do to solve the problems? For Preti, Maha, Sari, S.Pd, please answer the question. The time is yours.
Okay. Can you hear my voice?
Yeah, but make it
Okay.
louder, please. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Thank you for the moderator, and also thank you for Rahmadika for the question. Now I'm gonna try to respond the question. Actually, as I already explained in my presentation before, based on empirical research or based on research finding, showed that one of teachers' barriers in implementing iPad is lack of skill or lack of ability to use technology. In this case, iPad as a digital media for teaching. So I think this is one of teachers' barriers in implementing iPad in teaching English for young learners. So I try to give the solution. This is one of the solution based on what experts say. So according to Karsenti, 2013, the key to have successful integration of iPad in education is to provide teachers with proper training. So I think it's better if the teachers develop their skill first before they implement or use iPad for their students. If they already have a good skill to integrate iPad in their classroom, so later they can teach their students. Remember that teachers have important role and they are the key success of iPad integration. So technology integration will be run successful in the classroom. I think that's all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Preti Mahasari, for the great answer. Now, let's go to the next question. The next question is addressed to Shohibul, Kahfi, and S.Pd. The question is, please explain the difference between e-learning model and car learning model. So for Shohibul, Kahfi, and Putra, MPD, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. It's very clear.
Okay, regarding two questions from Ami Arimbi, apparently these questions can be answered by four of us, but I think I can help it. But one thing that it puzzles, because I think the difference between e-learning and car learning is not apple to apple. If we want to make a differentiation, I don't know about the car learning model because I am not technician and I don't know a lot about car. But if you're asking me about e-learning model, I can help. In e-learning model, at least there are three kinds of models that school use to implement it. The first one is adjunct model. It positions e-learning as additional. Meanwhile, the primary is still traditional learning. And then the second is blended learning. It positions e-learning as a theory. Meanwhile, the practice is still using the traditional one. Meanwhile, the third one is full classroom immersion using e-learning system by using internet, or it is called full e-learning model. I hope it answers your questions.
Okay. Thank you, Shohibul, Kahfi, for the answer. Now, the comedy, do we still have more questions? All right. Yeah, so here is the next question. The question is addressed to Umi Wahyudi from Harli. To Harli Zadtyi. The question is, based on the current situation, how is your experience in teaching using ICT itself? And what the barriers do you face? For Harli Zadtyi, please answer the question. The time is yours.
Okay. Can you hear my voice?
Yeah, it's very clear.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the question from Umi, based on the current situations, how is your experience in teaching using ICT itself, and what the barriers do you face? I think based on my experience, because applying face-to-face learning is not possible at this time, the use of ICT tools is very helpful, such as we can use Zoom applications and also YouTube videos to help to teach more interesting. But for the problems I have encountered, such as lack of technical support from the school and also lack of time, is the main obstacle to dealing with this problem. So we can use mobile phones to find the source of materials and also interesting tasks and give them information by sharing in WhatsApp. These barriers can be faced depending on how we respond as the teachers, I think. I think that's all for me. I hope I answer your questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Harli. I hope it will be clear for Umi. Next, we go to the next question. It is addressed to M. Wahyudi. The question is, based on your experience, what are the beneficial strategies to increase the students' motivation? Is that work or not while trying to motivate students toward e-learning? Thank you. For M. Wahyudi, the time is yours. M. Wahyudi, please unmute your microphone. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much for the question, Eza. What are the beneficial strategy to increase the student motivation? I think that related to the e-learning tools that I have already mentioned before, all of the tools are the best made by the inventor. We as a teacher need to improve ourselves first in order to master the technology itself. And then if we can master it, of course, when we want to apply it in the classroom, students will get the motivation that we are able to use it. Okay, and I think that when we have been master in using the e-learning itself, of course, the students is going to get involved with all activities we have by using the e-learning tools that we have already prepared before. Yeah, something that is not well as related to the other thing that is not supporting, such as the internet connection that sometimes felt low faced by some kind of students of mine. So we need to make sure that it is also to be one of the issues that must be solved, especially by the government, in order to provide the internet access, so that even students are at home, they can still access the learning and materials from the teacher very well. Thank you, Reza. I think that's the answer for the question.
All right. Thank you very much for M. Wahyudi for the great answer. Now, let's go to the second sessions of question and answer. For the comedy, yeah, thank you. Okay, the next questions is addressed to Preti Mahasari from Irawan. The questions are, okay. When I see an example, is it right that your students use iPad in learning? So what is the negative effect of using iPad for children or young learners based on your experience, and how to overcome the problems? For Preti Mahasari, this time for you to answer. Please, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Nurul. Whoa,
Yeah, sure.
many questions, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
quite a
I'll
lot.
try to respond the question. Thank you for Irawan Wahyu, and also thank you. There are two people, right? Thank
Yeah,
you,
two people. Yeah.
Mayaria
Irawan and Mayaria.
for the questions. So yes, that's right. Actually, my students in my school use iPad in teaching English for young learners, for teaching English in the school. And then beside iPad give many benefits, we can realize that there is also negative effects of using iPad for young learners. So actually, I've already summarized some of empirical research regarding to these questions. One of them is a research did by Kuniebi in 2016. Actually, Kuniebi conducted a study aimed to evaluate the experience of using iPad in the classroom, learning and also teaching. The results indicated that many negative aspects or many negative effects were noticed, such as distracting students, being busy with games and websites, and also being occupied with irrelevant topics. And in addition, teachers, on the other hand, also found there's a negative aspect of using iPad, such as weakening students' writing abilities and also bad handwriting. So those are some of negative aspect or negative effects of using iPad for young learners. So now, how is the way to solve the problems, or how is the ways at least to minimize this problem? As I already mentioned before, the teachers has important role to make sure teaching and learning process run well in the classroom. But now I try to respond the question. It's better for the teachers to arrange the right schedule in the school. So it's better not to let the students have iPad class every day in a week. So just make it 2 times in a week. So the students still have opportunity to develop motoric skill or motoric ability. I mean soft skills like writing using pencil, crayon, and etc. I think that's all. Thank you.
All
Give it back
right.
to the moderator.
Yeah, thank you for Preti Mahasari. It's a great explanation regarding to the question. Now, for the committee, do we still have more questions for the presenters? Please show me the screen. If you don't have no more, okay. I guess there is one more question. Can you please show the screen? Yeah, thank you. All right, so here is the last question the last question is addressed to M. Wahyudi. Okay, so the question is, how can you relate those platforms such as Kahoot, quizzes, to our curriculum demand, which requires us to integrate 4C, collaboration, communication, critical thinking and solving problems, and creativity, innovation? Can you please answer the question for M. Wahyudi?
Okay, thank you very much for the moderator and also the question.
Yes.
All right, I think Kahoot and quizzes are quite beneficial in order to be accessed in the collaborations of our curriculum, especially when we talk about 4Cs, such as critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and also creativity. About the collaboration first, based on my own personal experience, commonly I sometimes ask students to have a group consists of 2 students in one group. So I think that in this group, the students were able to collaborate one another. And then about the communication, while they see or check the question that was appearing on the big screen, they can communicate one another in order to find out the best answer, as well as to check their critical thinking related to the question given by the teacher. However, I'm not really sure if the creativity is quite support in applying or implementing Kahoot and also quiz itself. That's my opinion, Nurul, related to the question given before. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for M. Wahyudi. Now we come to the next question. Okay, the next question is addressed to Harli Zadtyi. The question is, why do educational institutions should focus on the improvement of students' ICT literacy? And what are the ways teachers can do in improving students' ICT literacy? Thank you so much. For Harli, Zadtyi, S.Pd, the time is yours for answering the question. Please.
Okay, I will try, or I think I was sharing the question. Yeah, try.
That's
okay. Wait. Okay, the questions. I will try. The question is, why do educational institutions should focus on the improvement of student ICT literacy, and what are the ways teachers can do in improving students' ICT literacy? Okay, I have read some article that talk about that. From seminar 2005, ICT has invaded and transformed many aspects of our lives to the extent that we live in an environment that is dominated by technology, which itself is a consumer driven. And why should we improve the ICT literacy? So we should improve because their attainment levels we need it, and also to prepare them for an integrated society dominated by ICT developments, and so that they learn the notion of using ICT as a tools for lifelong learning. And the ways to improve the student ICT literacy, I think the choice now by using or integrate ICT tools, give the interesting topic of the learning to make the integration of ICT is not monotonous and accustomed to it. It will be improve their skill in using ICT, not only just using a book, but we can use ICT to make the student more interesting and more interesting in the learning material. I think that's my answer. Thank you.
all right. Thank you for the great answer, Harli, Zadtyi. Now we come to the next question. Okay, so actually this question is addressed to all the presenters today. Okay, so the question is, what are the challenges that you experienced when doing the study? So any one of the presenter would like to answer this one? How about Shohibul, Kahfi, S.Pd? Would you mind answering the question?
Okay. Regarding the questions, the challenge that I experience when I am doing the study. I mean the study when I am graduate student.
I guess so.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess so.
If that's so, well, my biggest challenge.
Maybe it is based on the study that you did, or maybe the study that you not study the way you find out the data. I guess from this presentation, maybe the way you try to observe data from many articles, review the data. I guess so.
Okay, about the presentation, not from the college stuff. No.
Yeah,
okay.
I guess so.
Yeah, regarding the biggest challenge that I have is reading a lot, and I am getting used to using a lot of the source that from Scopus index, and I learned a lot how to find it using Google Scholar, and I need to find it more and more about my specific topic and so on. It is really challenging, but I think it is crucial also, not only about writing such the paper for letter or about for this seminar, but also for my thesis also. It is also make a great contribution. So my answer is I have to read a lot. That's the biggest challenge.
Yeah, is that so? Shohibul Kahfi?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree that.
To be
Yeah, we
honest,
need to
yes.
read a lot. Yes, of course. Reading a lot is the
Yeah.
main focus. And if we don't read aloud, if we don't read many sources, it will be hard for us, right? To get something new. All right. Thank you very much for all the presenters. Okay, now the question and answer session actually is already ended. Now, if for the all participants here, if you have something to say regarding to it can be sharing or anything, you may raise your hand so we can request you to turn on your camera so you can talk. Yeah, so for all the participants, if you want to share something, it can be related to your own experience, especially for teaching using e-learning or ICT, or you have something you would like to ask more, or yeah, even just sharing, please turn on the camera or just raise your hand. Do we have someone here who would like to share something with us? I can see there is no. There is no, I guess. Okay. For the participants here, if you would like to share something, you may raise your hand. If there is no, it means that this is the end of our session. Okay, so I see there is no. All right, so what a great presentations and answers from all the presenters today. Thank you so much for the 4 presenters, Preti Mahasari S.Pd, Shohibul Kahfi Alam Putra S.Pd, Harli Zadtyi S.Pd, and Wahyudi that have shared valuable information to us regarding to the topic e-learning, barriers, implementations, and recommendations. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the end of the 3rd graduate students webinar. I'm very grateful for all the participants who joined this webinar and stay with us till the end of this webinar. Unfortunately, sorry if there are some questions that we cannot answer, but I think everything is done. Okay, now for all the participants, I would like to remind you that now there is link provided in the chat box. It is the feedback link that will be shared. Not yet, yeah. So there will be a feedback link shared by the committee. So please, the committee, there is no. Yeah, so please click the link for the giving feedback to us. That will be the exit ticket for you guys. So like what I explained at the beginning, there will be 3 rules. First, registration form. Second, attendance form. And you need to fill the exit ticket in a form of feedback that is provided in the chat box, or here is the link that you can see from the screen. So you just type this link and give the feedback about our webinar today. Yeah. Okay, that's the link. The link has been provided by the committee in the chat box. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for all the participants in the committee for today's webinar. I think that's all from me as a moderator. Now I'll give it back to the host, Ernawati, S.Pd.
Okay, Tess, hello. Can you hear?
Yeah, sure. It's clear.
Okay, thank you so much for our moderator, Nurul Fauzia S.Pd, and all the 4 presenters today. All is very worth discussions for today from Preti Mahasari S.Pd, Shohibul Kahfi Alam Putra S.Pd, Harli Zadtyi S.Pd, and also Muhammad Wahyudi S.Pd. So before I close this webinar today, in a while our ICT team will open the allowance of your video view. So I would like to invite some of the participants to turn on your video to take the pictures together in this togetherness with us. Maybe the ICT team can help. We need to wait, okay? For the participant that we allow already here, may you open your video, please? Okay. Yeah, some of them trying to open. It's very glad for us if you open your camera to take the picture with us together here. They're still trying. For all the panelists, I really beg for you to open your camera so that we can take the picture. Okay, Nimas, can you help me?
Belum. Iya, Kakak, keluar, Kak.
Nimas still
keluar.
helping on it.
Okay.
Okay, Nimas, maybe we can start to take the picture.
Yes. Everyone
Okay.
can take pictures too.
Okay,
1,
from
2,
all the
3.
panels, can you give your smile, please? 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Once more, or is it enough?
You can take one more time.
Okay, one more time. Okay, give us your very, very big smile. 1, 2, 3. Yay! Thank you so much for this time. Thank you for the ICT team, the committee. So, well, sadly, we have come to the end of today's webinar. But don't worry, we still have 2 more webinars coming on the following days. Again, you are all invited to participate in our upcoming webinars. The information of our webinar is in our social media pages. So make sure you are following our Facebook, Instagram account at SRS-TEFLIN Official, our Telegram channel, SRS-TEFLIN Official, and don't forget to like and subscribe our YouTube channel at SRS-TEFLIN channel to keep yourself updated about our next event. So this is the end of our webinar today. I am Erna. Thank you so much for your attention and for all your time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Have a good day.
Waalaikumsalam
Warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam
wabarakatuh.
warahmatullahi
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Very good, very good. Bravo. Clap for you.
Thank you, Bu. Oh my God.
Enough.
Okay. Kayaknya yang dari panelis ini tinggal kita semua.
There's a text from Ibu Rita. Thank you, Ibu Rita.
Okay, so I enjoy your presentation by sitting outside of my room. Yeah. Okay.
Bu Rita, Bu Rita, besok ngajar kan? Halo Bu Rita.
Ya Bu.
Ya, barangkali untuk besok itu kerahkan mahasiswa you yang ini.
Yang kuliah ya?
Iya.
Jam
Supaya
1 Bu,
mereka
ini acaranya jam 1 saya ngajar besok.
Hah?
Acara kita jam berapa besok?
Jam 1 Bu, sama seperti hari ini.
Oh, pas lah. Ya nanti saya arahkan ke sana aja.
Iya, saya kira bagus mereka belajar kan.
Iya Bu, besok juga gawe anak-anak itu adalah melakukan self assessment, kan mereka udah nulis nih artikel. Jadi ada self assessment itu bisalah, nggak harus berbicara langsung, saya bisa merekam. Sudah disiapkan seperti itu. Ya jadi nanti saya bawa ke sini aja mahasiswanya biar mereka dapat ilmu juga.
Iya.
Dari anak-anak mahasiswa ini.
Saya ngajar pagi ya, mungkin akan dialihkan ke sore. Kalau Ibu Mahdalena Vianti setuju, ya besok kami ada mata pelajaran critical reading dengan article writing. Nah, saya kira bagus kalau mereka kita arahkan di sini. Iya.
Iyalah, sangat jarang nih kalau mereka ya Bu ya, sangat jarang. Itu saya sudah halo-halo semuanya. Ada kok yang dihalo-haloin datang.
Ini justru mahasiswa saya dari matematik yang banyak hadir. Iya, 3 hari berturut-turut ini mereka pada hadir terus.
Iya.
Saya telat memberikan ininya ya, mereka tanya sampai, Bu mana itunya, ID-nya. Nah, saya kira bagus.
Iya. Padahal ini bagus sekali hari ini juga.
Ya.
Current issue banget.
Ya,
Kayak gini Bu. Teman-teman guru kita ini. Gimana ya, kita sudah kirim ke seluruh grup alumni ya. Grup alumni kan pada guru. Alasan ngajar atau gimana. Kan mereka juga masih agak-agak gaptek kalau harus berkaitan sama sama Zoom gini gitu ya. Kalau saya sangat menikmati presentasi mahasiswa kah, ya apalagi orang lain ya Bu ya. Tapi hari ini saya maaf tidak bisa muncul karena tidak pakai jilbab dan sebagainya.
Mudah itu mah pakai jilbab sudah.
Tidak ada model gaya Ibu tuh, tidak ada. Harus diputer-puter dulu Bu.
Oh. Mudah-mudahan besok siapa ya? Francisca ya? Siapa besok?
Mbak Yeni, Bu.
Yeni. Yeni.
Eza.
Terus?
Imas.
Iya.
Eka
besok
sama Rena.
Rena ya. Ya, mudah-mudahan lebih baik lagi ya.
Ya, lancar.
Banyak perubahan dari yang kemarin-kemarin itu. Hari ini tuh banyak perubahan. Bagus.
Ibu, sorry
Ada-
Erna just open my WhatsApp. Erna
It's
nggak
okay.
lihat. Sorry ya Bu.
It's okay.
Thank you Ibu.
Yeah, you can read it now or later.
Thank you Bu.
Iya. Iya. Oke, ya siap-siap ya besok. Maaf saya harus leave ya.
Iya Bu.
Gimana? Ya, saya harus
Oke,
leave
Bu.
ya.
Iya.
Good luck.
Oke, sama.
Thank you,
Okay,
Bu.
you're great today.
Thank you, Bu.
Ibu.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Duh,
Bye.
yuk, jangan lo yuk.
Boleh lihat ya?